Hello and welcome back to Cello from the Beginning. This is Slurs on D Part 2. So if you've just found this video through a search, you'll want to go back to Intro to Slurs on D, then Slurs on D1, and finally return to this video. We're doing now exercises 5 through 8 if you have your sheet music printed out, and of course, as always, sheet music link in the description, as well as a link to the sound slice lesson for this exercises. So this page is considerably more difficult than what we just did because we're going to introduce string crossings now. We're not going to add any notes on the A string, so our fingered notes will remain just D1, 1, 3, and 4 on the D string. But we're going to add the open A into the mix. And actually, we're going to do this a little bit out of order. Let's jump down to exercise 6 and begin there, because I think it will be, I think 6 and 7 will be a little better introduction. Then we'll go back and get exercise 5. So looking at exercise 6, we have a fairly straightforward, now stepwise scale pattern, D1, 1, 3, 3, 4, 4, A, and then coming back down, A, 4, 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, D. And then as 4 bars essentially repeat again. So what we're looking at critically here is the slur with the string crossing in the second measure and the third measure, going from 4th finger on the D to the open A and back. So we have the same challenge that we've had all along in these slur exercises. Our bow speed and pressure should not change so that we're still playing a half note. All that's happening now is, instead of having a finger change, we're having an actual string change, going from 4 on the D to the actual open A. So something like this. My goal in doing that is to have those notes be as smooth and connected as possible without actually sounding at the same time, like this. That is not good, because there I'm getting 2 strings at once, and so the notes are blurring together. So that would be a case of my string crossing being too smooth. My side-to-side motion is fine, but my pivot needs to be more decisive. And that is the big challenge of string crossings with slurs, is to have the pivot be decisive without disrupting the slur itself. Obviously, I could do this. That's easy. I'm making the pivot in the gap between the notes. But now with a smooth slur, I'm having to make the pivot very quickly and precisely right at the correct moment of time. This kind of skill is very important. It's what is involved in playing something like the famous Bach prelude from the first cello suite, full of string crossings underneath slurs. So let's try this one. And it's a good idea, actually, if you want to pause now and just isolate that 4 open 04 and practice that slowly at the tempo we've been going, just to get comfortable with that, because now we'll put it in context. So let's do exercise 6. So let's find our hand position, curved fingers, bows ready, playing at the frog. 1, 2, ready, play. D, 1, 1, 3, 3, 4, 4, A, 4, 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, D. Again. And off. All right, that's worth taking some time to practice before you go on. So when you've mastered that one, or at least you're getting comfortable with it, you're ready to go on to exercise 7. So again, we'll skip 5 for now. We've done 6. We'll do 7. All that's happening in exercise 6, in exercise 7, very similar to what we just did, only now we're not repeating notes. We're going up and down the scale. D, 1, 3, 4, A, 4, 3, 1. And we do that basically 3.5 times, and then we end with a long A and a long D. So let's try this. 1, 2, ready, play. 3, 4, A, 4, 3, 1. D, 1, 3, 4, A, 4, 3, 1. Again. A, 4, 3, 1. D, 1, 3, 4. Long A, long D. So what we added there was just increasing the frequency of the string crossing in terms of there being one less note between the change. So this time we go right up and come right back down. And importantly, you'll see I'm not lifting my 4th finger. Or really any finger. That way, I know that my G and F sharp and E coming down will be the same as what I played going up. Now be careful when we do this. We've had this in our other pieces already, but remember that we're going to have to get up on the tip, just pivot a little bit to get, especially the 4th finger, away from touching the A as we play it, or we're going to get this. If you get that, it's because your fingers are touching the A string. So you really got to get up there on the tips. I don't stay there, but I do get up there just for that A. So just bring that elbow up and kind of rock off of, away from that A string with this part of my finger. All right, that's exercise 7. So that's another one worth taking some time to practice. When you are ready to move on, now we'll go back to exercise 5. So exercise 5, once again, the left hand never leaves the D string, but we have a lot of string crossing back and forth. We're playing D, A, D, D, A, D. Then we're putting 1st finger down. 1, A, 1, 1, A, 1. Then 3rd finger. Then 4th finger. Then 3rd finger again. Then 1st finger. Finally back to our open. And a slow one. D, A, D, just to end. So the trick here is really what we just had a little bit of in the last lesson, which is being careful not to touch that string with the dragging pad of the finger, was we really have to do that for the whole exercise here once we get started. And we have tons of string crossing under the slur. Right, lots and lots of string crossing. So we want to be very careful here to just keep that bow moving side to side, nice quick pivot, but don't pause, don't pulse, don't change the speed at all. It's still a half note long bow stroke. So even though we're starting with open, I'm going to go ahead and find my hand position. Okay, I'm ready. 1, 2, ready, play. D, A, D, D, A, D. Now 1. Before we go on, I want to mention something about this exercise 5. This is an intentional challenge. This is going to be very difficult for you, especially at first. If you practice it enough, you'll get better at it, but you may not at this point get perfect at it, and that is okay. We're really introducing here a skill, a kind of advanced skill. I'm just trying to bring it in in an early form just to give you the experience. This isn't something we're going to have to do a lot of in our pieces that we're playing. We're not going to be going back and forth crazy every note string crossing. But we want to start practicing our technique ahead of our music so that we're challenging ourselves on the technique side so that when we play our pieces, they're comfortable and not necessarily easy, but less stressful than if the piece is always challenging us right at the edge of our technique. So don't get too frustrated is what I'm saying. If you can't get this clean, if you feel like your pivots aren't that good, if you feel like you're getting some disruption when, you know, some bow speed changes, that's okay. Take this exercise 5 specifically as a kind of advanced or bonus challenge out of all of these exercises that we're doing. And that's also true to some degree of exercise 8 as well, although I think 8 is actually easier than 5. So let's take a look at 8 now. So 8 is, instead of scalar motion, we're back to arpeggiated motion for the most part, but going up to the A string. So we start out with this D major arpeggio, D, 3, A, 3, D, 3, A, then 1, 4, A, 4, 1, 4, A, then 3, 4, A, 4, 3, 4, A, back to 1, 4, A, and finally ending as we began with D, 3, A, 3, and a little tag here, D, 1, D. That's just to finish out the harmonically the music. All right, so we have a fair number of string crossings in here, though I think not as demanding as exercise 5. So as I'm playing, that's really going to be the one where it's back to back, you know, crossing to go from the third finger to the A and back to the third finger, fourth finger to the A and the fourth finger, and so on. It's not every single note as we had in exercise 5. So we get a little break on this. So let's try this, and again, we'll need to keep our up on the tips nice and curved to stay away from that A string. So find your hand position. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. D, 3, A, 3, D, 3, A, 1, 4, A, 4, 1, 4, A, 3, 4, A, 4, 3, 4, A, 1, 4, A, 4, 1, 4, A, and finally D, 3, A, 3, D, 1, D, and off. So I think that one is easier than number 5, although it still has its fair number of string crossings. And this, by the way, is a very common sort of accompaniment pattern that we'll have, especially in classical music like Mozart. We do get a fair amount of that kind of thing, sometimes with slurred, sometimes separate, but very, very typical pattern to encounter. So that's something we definitely want to work on and be able to do. So for right now, just continue to go slowly, concentrate on that right hand, nice, long, full half notes without disrupting the speed or the pressure, whether you're changing the left hand note or whether you're pivoting from string to string. All right, in the next lesson, we'll start another piece of music. Practice hard and I'll see you there.